Welcome to One Quick Question with Infomedia, your source for answers to your questions about websites, digital marketing, and more. I'm your guest host, Elena Harmon, and I'm hosting today because we're turning the tables and Carrie Rollwagon, who's usually our host, is our guest. Welcome to the podcast, Carrie.
Thanks, Elena.
So today we are going to be talking about the 12-week year, and we're doing a few episodes on some time management methods and things that help us stay organized, and I know that you have done the 12-week year a few times, so I wanted to talk to you about that today. So tell me, what is the 12-week year?
Well, it's a book and a time management, like you said, system. The idea is that you take 12 weeks and pretend they're a year. It's like all in the name. So the idea is like, okay, so I am like a resolutions person. I'm one of those people that I like January 1st. I like the beginning of the month. Like my husband, if he's trying to if he's going to eat better, then he's like, I want to eat better. I will eat better at my next meal and continue. And I'm like, I would never do that.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. It's like, I want to start at the beginning of a week.
Yeah.
Or better yet, the first of a month.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that kind of thing. But when you're trying to make resolutions for like a regular year, I tend to go too big. So it's like, I'm like, I can probably learn a language and like get super healthy and like learn more about finances at work. You know, it's like, and write a book and whatever. And then you get like defeated and whatever. So one reason I like the 12-week year is that you take 12 weeks, you kind of look at it like, this is my year, this is my resolution time. And I do find that I can set a lot more manageable goals for that time. Because you write down all the things you want to do and you're like, okay, wait, I can't possibly do this. So I still probably have too many goals in a 12-week year, but it's still that's the basis of it. And there are a couple other parts I can talk about, but yeah, that's the idea.
So how do you kind of check in throughout the 12-week year? Like, are there ways that you keep track of your progress with certain goals, or how does that work?
Yeah, they actually have like a whole system for doing it.
Okay.
It's not, I say they have a whole system. It's pretty loose and you can make it your own kind of. But some of the things that they say are very important that I do. One is a vision, which I can talk about in a second. But on like a weekly or monthly basis, they're really weeks. You're supposed to pretend they're months. You can, you do this thing called, I think they call it a scorecard. So basically, before you start the 12-week year, you kind of work on what are your goals going to be. And so it probably is healthier to have like 3 or 4. I usually have like 8. But but you kind of narrow those goals down and think like, why are you doing them? But then once a week, you go down and make a list of like tactics that will help you reach those goals. So that's like a weekly thing. They recommend you set a time to do it. I don't really do that. I just do it like sometime on the weekend. But so I look back at my goals and I'm like, what are the things I think will help me, tactics this week that will help me meet those goals? So for example, like I'm trying to do like a health and exercise one, and one is like rehabbing my shoulder. So like tactics for this week are like doing my PT exercises in the morning, like 4 times or whatever.
Good.
So very, yeah, yes, exactly. Like super specific and measurable. And then every day I look at the tactics list when I'm making my to-do list and I'm like, okay, what can I do from this list? And then at the end of the week, you actually grade it. So that's why it's like a scorecard. And I just grade it like I would grade a test. Like I give myself 100 if I did all of it. If I did 50%, I give it 50, and then I just like grade the whole thing. But I also love grades. So if grades are triggering for you, you don't have to do it that way.
Okay, so I know that you were talking about like measuring the goals. Is that another part of it? Like, is it really important to set a certain kind of goal for the 12-week year? Does that make sense?
Yeah, they do want you to do like SMART goals. So like, I never remember all the things, like specific, measurable, other what is it, like attainable?
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. So I don't remember our.
You wouldn't want to put. You wouldn't want to like put write a book in your 12-week year, probably.
I mean,
You could.
You could write a draft of a
Yeah.
book, but I wouldn't maybe do other things.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, you could do. But even if we said if we're like, no, that is what I want to do. I do want to write a book.
Yeah.
Then you would make it really measurable. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean a book that you're going to have published? Does that mean the first draft? Like, maybe it's the first draft. Then you would say, like, for your tactics list, you would be like, okay, how much do I need to do this week in order to actually be on track? And that's your measurable goal.
Got it.
But they do like want you to have, which I feel like I actually have a Localist podcast on setting SMART goals, because I find it really hard to set a measurable goal for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think one of the reasons a lot of people, when they want to get healthier, their goal is a weight loss goal is because it's just easy to set the number, you know? But maybe that's not the healthiest way to do it. Maybe your goal is, I want to start, like, you know, hitting a 10,000 step goal at least 4 days a week. You know, like, so for me, that is kind of the challenge at the beginning, to actually nail down, like, how do I make this kind of vague goal? Like, I want to be healthier. How do I make that specific goal? Or like, if it's like, I want to be better at my job, what does that mean? Like, maybe it's like, oh, I want to learn more about analytics. By the time I finish, I want to be able to pass like a Google Analytics course. Maybe that's the measurable goal. So yes, they definitely have to be specific and measurable.
Well, I feel like this is really helpful. And I mean, I know I'm asking all these questions, but I have done the 12-week year with Carrie before, actually. And for me, it's difficult for me to get started on my goals, because a lot of times it's just one big thing. It's like, oh, I want to, like you said, you know, maybe it's a health goal. I want to get healthier. Well, that's very broad. And sometimes it's helpful to have it broken down into those specific things, and having an actual format, you know, that someone else came up with, that is like, this is tried and true. Other people use this, it works. I feel like that's really helpful. And so is it something you can kind of do over and over? Like, how many times have you done the 12-week year?
I don't remember exactly how many times, maybe 4 or 5.
A lot.
Yeah. My husband doesn't love it. He's like, you get really intense when you're doing it.
You're always living in a 12-week year.
Exactly.
Your year is simply just 12 weeks long.
Right. So I do feel like I don't, and they don't even recommend that in the book. I think they recommend that you like take breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that's kind of better, because otherwise, like, if you're always going 100%, that's not great. One thing I did at the end of last year that was really good for me was, like, I actually did a 12-week year that was like no new ideas, just finishing up all the other things I'd started that year.
That.
Yeah. And that actually was like helpful. But it is kind of, I do think it's good to take breaks between them. One thing they also recommend is, like, at the end of the year, you treat it like the end of the year, and like go on a little, like, ideally like a couple day vacation or something like that, and like celebrate the same way you would celebrate the end of like a regular year. But yeah, they do recommend that you take breaks, and so do I. So
Yeah.
Like,
Do you really recommend breaks, Carrie?
I don't want to. Like, I'm about to finish one, and I'm like, but I want to accomplish other things. But I will say I've gotten better, because I mentioned it to Russell the other day, and he was like, I didn't even know you were doing a 12-week year. So that's good. That's progress for me.
That is progress.
I'm being more reasonable. But one thing they do, the vision thing that I mentioned, I think is actually super important. So before you start, they have you write a page. Like, don't overthink it, but like, where do you actually want to be in life, and how does that connect to the 12-week year? And a lot of people who do this are like business people. So in the book, they're like, we know, like, you're going to think this is touchy-feely. You don't want to do it. But I do think it's actually super important, because it's like, if you're not able to connect like these goals to where you really truly want to be in life, like, what's the point of doing like a sprint of 3 months to be like, let's get as much done as possible?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I actually have it. This came from somebody in our group when we did it, when you were in it too. She said she put like vision on her to-do list, and like now I do that too, to be like, the top of my to-do list is just to think about, just to picture, like, this is where I'm trying to be. And it doesn't have to be like, it's only like a second. It's not like I don't do a meditation or anything. I
Yeah.
just like, even just having to cross that out makes me take like 2 seconds to be
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm not just like on a hamster wheel. Like, I'm trying to get somewhere.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of these things too are really just about influencing your mindset for the rest of the day. Like
Yeah.
getting started on the right foot like that can really influence you to have a super productive day. And I know too, we've mentioned a couple of times like us doing the 12-week year together.
Mhm.
Carrie had a mastermind group, I think a little over a year ago or so now. And we all went through the 12-week year with our individual goals as a group. And I know that for me, that was really helpful, just doing it with another
Yeah.
person or several people, just to have that accountability and someone to check in with. So that's another
I think
tip.
that is super helpful. Even if you can get like 2 or 3 more people.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people do it at work. I haven't imposed it on people at work yet. um, but I actually think we do a pretty good job of reaching our goals here anyway. But yeah, I agree. I think the group is really helpful. Because you do get to a point where you're like tired. Why am I even doing this?
Mhm.
Whatever. And it is just helpful to hear other people or to work stuff out when you're like, I think I'm going for the wrong goal. Like, one of the things that's super helpful with this is it really helped me to see things as feedback instead of failure.
Mhm.
Like, it's like, okay, I thought that this was the goal I needed to go for, but this did not make me healthier. It didn't whatever it is, it didn't actually move the needle. So it doesn't mean like I suck. It means like I need to look. It's like that was the wrong thing to go after,
Mhm.
you know? So I think that like it helps kind of to me to kind of separate that from like a personal failure to just like, this is just feedback in what didn't work and I can try something else.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you for telling us about the 12-week year. I think there's definitely a lot to apply here.
Thanks. And I guess I'll promo this. I do think I have some like old content, like localist content or blogs or something. So if Elena digs that up, you'll link it in the show notes.
I will dig it up. It'll be there.
Thanks. All right. Well, one quick question is brought to you by Infomedia.
Carrie is the host and creator.
Elena is the producer. Our theme music is by Brad Davis, and our sound engineering is done here in the Infomedia studio.
Find show notes for anything we talked about today, or find out what Infomedia can do for your website at infomedia.com/quick-question.
And we'll leave you with this thought. A real expert helps to clarify, not confuse. So don't take website advice from someone who can't give you a straight answer.